In this video, we are going to use TDD in order to create a product. The convention that I follow with TDD is that my tests, so the folder structure is the same for whatever I'm testing. We are going to see this in a moment. Now, with TDD, you first write the test and then you write the code to make the test pass. So let's create a test file using artisan. So PHP artisan make test HTTP and then controllers and then API, and we are going to call this product controller test. So at the end you should say test, otherwise this is not a test file. Let's create a test case that verifies that we can create a product. So something that I do not like is when the functions start with test. So I prefer to remove that, and instead we can define that this is a test from the comments here. Okay, so by saying add test, this is now defined as a test function. And this makes it easier to read instead of having, for example, test example and then test something else. So you do not have to do that, just example is enough. Now the name of this test will be can create a product. So this is the name of the function. So this is the name of the test actually. So this test is very straightforward. It will test whether the user can create a product or not. If it fails, the user cannot create a product, so we do have a bug at some point. Now, if it passes, it means that this is a successful test. So if I go ahead and actually let's run this. So in order to run a test, you have to go to your vendor, because inside your vendor, take a look, inside the vendor bin, you have PHP unit. So you have to access this file in order to run your tests. So we can say dot and then slash vendor slash bin and then PHP unit. Okay, the next one is to actually call the file that we just created. So tests and then HTTP, actually features, HTTP, controllers, API, product controller test. So if I run this, you can see that this returns green. So one test was successful, one assertion, excellent. Now, whenever you write a test, most of the times you have to follow 3 steps. So step 1 is given, step 2, when, and step 3, then. It is very simple, and this actually makes your testing process easier. So in this case, given describes the preconditions for a test to work. When is the action we want to take. Then describes the outcome of that action here according to the preconditions that we have in the given. So in this example, given can be that in order to create a product, we have to be authenticated. So given user is authenticated. When, well, this is an API, so when we make a post request, we create a product. Then we expect the product to exist, so product exists. Again, given if the user is authenticated, when a post request to a URI is sent, we create a product. Then we expect the product to exist. My plan is to add authentication later after the API is completed at some point. So for now, we will skip given and we continue to when. So when we make a post request, this JSON post, the endpoint will be API/products, following the conventions of a RESTful API, of course. So this is going to return a response, those we can save it to a variable. So a response equals to this JSON. So this is a post request again, and this is a URI. And of course, to create a product, we have to pass some data, right? So this is going to be an array. But before we do that, we can go ahead and run this test, because this is what TDD is about. We write the test, we run the test, we see that it fails, we take a look at the error, and then we fix the error. So let me run this. I will clear everything and run this again. As you can see, we get a yellow warning. So this means that we do not have any error. However, a test is incomplete, risky, or has been skipped. In our case, the test is incomplete. We have a test, which is this one here. However, a test should have at least one assertion. For this test, we can assert that the status code is 201. So we can say, so below this, we can say, actually this is inside then. So response, assert, status 201. Okay, let me now remove the comments because I guess this makes it harder to understand. But the idea is that when we make a post request, we expect back a response, and then we also expect the status code to be 201. So this is our when, and this is our then. So 201 is used when you create a resource, which is what we do here. We create a product. So if I run this again, excellent. Now we get red. It looks like we expect 201. However, we receive 404. We already know the problem, right? There is no controller and no action that points to this URI here. So this is why it says 404, because it does not exist. So with one command, we can create the model, controller, and migration. PHP artisan, make model, product, dash MC. So M is for migration, C is for controller. Now inside API.php, I will create a new post route. So route post, the URI is products, the controller is product controller, and the action is store. I will have this inside the route group, so actually the namespace will be different. So route namespace, the namespace will be API, and this is a group, and we paste that inside there. Okay. Of course, we have to do this modification to the controller as well, because the controller right now is inside the controllers folder. However, this has to be inside API. So we create a new API folder and we move the product controller there. This is why we have this namespace, and this has to be API with lowercase p and I. Okay. So now inside product controller, we change the namespace to API, and we have to import the controller. I think that I can do it like this. Okay, yes, so here it is. All right, so now if we go back and run this again, and it returns a 500 because we do not have the store function. So public function store. Okay, so if I run this again, okay, now we expect 201 and we receive 200, right? Because here, as you can see, we expect 201. However, because we are doing pretty much nothing in this function here, we return a 200. Thus, this is not passing the test yet. At this point, we can force a 201 status code in order to continue with the development process. So what we can do is to say return response and then JSON. We can return an empty array. However, the status code will be 201. So if I go back here and run this again, now it returns green because we are forcing the status code to be 201. I am saying forcing, even though we are not forcing something here, but I'm saying forcing because we pretty much do nothing except, returning a response that satisfies our test, which is 201. So we just return the response status code to be 201, nothing else. Of course, here we have to create a product. However, we made the test return green, so we are good.